Well, it's like a.
You're listening to a recording, right?
Yeah, no, it was on a delay, but I think we are live now.
Wait, you do?
I think so. Yeah. Good morning, everyone.
We are the smoothest people we know.
Smoothest people. Good morning.
Good morning, world.
It is Wednesday.
Day 3. It is day 3.
Yeah, I'm just. Alan's looking at. Alan's doing something, so I'm worried that I've done something wrong. It was my day to try and start the stream, and every day seems to be my day to start the stream. And by Friday, I'll probably get like the hang of it. I might do it like at the last second. But anyway, hope that you're all doing well. Ben, how have you been? How was your evening? What were you focusing on?
Yeah, all good. Basically spent the last tail end of yesterday getting the team member access sorted out, or functionality sorted out,
Okay.
which is separate from room members. So this is not inviting an investor or potential investor. This is inviting someone from your own team, so that in effect they can manage the account with you and add rooms, manage members, all that sort of stuff. So you can now invite people to your team, decide on the permissions that they should be able to have. So which companies can they see? So we spoke about yesterday about out of the box having this facility now where account holders can create multiple companies, which is less of a use case, I suppose.
Sure.
But it's quite probable. I mean, I have a couple, so it's possible I might be in that situation, and I'm sure many others are in that state position as well. So we've got that, so you can choose which companies a team member can see, and then I've got a basic permission for whether they can create new companies, just as a general permission, so that the product has a starting point for a place where you might want to add additional site-wide or account-wide permissions that you might want to layer in later on.
Makes sense. Makes sense. At least it just gives us a whole bunch of options, and I think it's also important to know that, or understand that we weren't actually expecting that type of functionality. But I understand that at least what you were saying yesterday, it's much better to add that now than to try and go back and retroactively do it later on.
Yes, it does. It's not, quite frankly, it's not complex either.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes time, but it's not hugely complex, and it just adds an extra layer of stuff that you can do, and it just makes sense.
Yeah. Cool.
From a product standpoint, more than anything.
Yeah, exactly, and also just in the future allows us to experiment more. With different models and all that kind of stuff. Okay, cool. So what are you focused on today?
So I'm almost immediately going to jump into the more fluffy, well, not more fluffy, but the more engaging UX-y sort of stuff that is, in theory, going to be a bit more of a USP for the product, which is how you add content and build kind of the building blocks behind a room, so that when people land on it, it's kind of the dashboard sort of thing, they get to see sort of a grid of content. I don't know how complex I'm going to end up being able to make individual components. So are we going to be able to go as far as allowing them to create graphs and import this, that, and the other? Possibly not. But I want to. My primary priority is less about adding a whole array of different types of things you can add, but more about creating a rock solid process, and architecture that will support that moving forward. So kind of very much drawing parallels with what I've just described with the team management permissions. You've got one permission that you can add so far, but that doesn't matter, because adding the second, third, and fourth in the future is going to be a doddle now, because it's in place. And I kind of want to get to the same point with the content building side of this.
Yep, that makes sense. Cool. And so what do you think are the biggest challenges with that? Why is that a little bit more intense? Just because of the unknowns, or?
Yeah, I guess there's two layers to it. On the one side, we're now going into the territory of non-standard design patterns. So what I mean by that is, yesterday I was working on just the basic ability to list rooms, list people, and list updates, be able to add them, be able to delete them, and be able to edit them. Those are very standard input-output devices, and so you can have a list view, you can have an add view, and it's just very standard. You don't need to do anything more complex. What we're now going to here is slightly different design patterns that will break out of that. And although we could still have a table of content that you've added, and you have a little add button and it opens a pop-up, I mean, we could do that, but then we're just doing what I didn't want to do yesterday, which was ending up with something that ends up just looking like a glorified database.
Yeah,
you don't have a unique product. So now we need to start carving out a slightly different style that feels more intuitive. And so that's where some of the complexities will come in. And then the other side is just, as I mentioned before, just the complexities, potential complexities of the different types of components. So that will not stumble me, but it will create a time drag.
Sure. I'm
just going to have to make kind of cut-off decisions and say, okay, right, well, we've added a text component type, we've added an image one and a video one. I'm now working on this fourth one, and it's now taking me 3 hours. I'm actually going to have to just leave that there.
Yeah, exactly.
Move on to the next thing, and that's kind of what's likely to happen as we get through the day.
Cool. Well, good luck with that. So, Lizzie, what are you focused on today?
So today I am going to review the website copy that we drafted up yesterday. We were talking about, although we've been discussing the pain points and what this solution is going to bring, we haven't necessarily described that super well externally. So what does the website look like? What should the copy be? How are we explaining ourselves? What's the strap line? I'm going to review that this morning. And I would love to be able to play around to see if I can make a Landbot work on our landing page.
Okay.
So that people have questions
about
the product,
like
what we're building, why are you building it,
okay.
Why is it this price? I think that's only going to increase our conversions if we can answer those questions in lifetime. So those two things, and then getting an output for what day is best to do product hunt, to launch briefing room. Those are my aims for today.
Okay, cool, awesome. So last night I came up with a landing page that I sent to you that probably needs a lot of work, but it was just text only, and it's designed for accelerators. And basically, I would make a landing page per accelerator to show this is what we're doing. Send this to your portfolio teams, and if they're part of your accelerator, they can get a discount. I didn't even bother going into Stripe and trying to create coupons at the moment. I'm literally just using I'm creating a landing page with a custom ending to signify that it's personal, and then it would just link them back to the deal. And if we change the deal, I'll create a new deal just for them. So like that's the way I'm doing it. I'm not even trying to mess with the coupon code yet. I might get into that today, but I didn't want to bug you at 11:45 last night. And then I've sent it to someone, so that's good. But I need to now work on I need to finish up the copy and send it to at least 5 accelerators today. So I'm going to be doing that hopefully before lunch.
And those accelerators were a target because during our customer interviews, we got the feedback that if you have about 10 to 15 shareholders, if you're part of an accelerator, you're likely to want to be updating those people. And so they would be early stage founders who had the inclination to go and update in the way that we want to help people.
Exactly, yeah. Or if you're going through an accelerator, you're also probably interested in raising more funds going forward in the next round. And so you need to start getting into these kind of best practices by keeping people up to date and also keeping prospects up to date to try and warm the audience.
Right, so they're the core market.
So we think that they should be the core market for it. So that's what we're focused on in terms of the schedule for today. If you're watching on, we're going to do something different. We heard some good feedback yesterday. We're going to leave this stream on all day. So we're not going to stop each video and then come back like we were doing yesterday. I think it's just going to make it easier. So you can leave us on the whole day. You might hear us walking around. You might hear us clapping away. You might not hear anything. I don't know. But you won't have to refresh the stream or find a new link or anything like that. So we're going to see how that goes. So what's up first?
So after our stand-up, we're going to get into a bit of a discussion about the challenges of feature creep. So from personal experience in development and stories from other people, we're going to talk about the fear of overbuilding or the reality of overbuilding. And then we're going to move on to a little bit of a discussion about lean building versus what's a workable MVP. And that's come up a good few times this week. And I think we just kind of want to get into not the rights and wrongs, but what are the different perspectives on that, and what do a decision about the direction you take, what difference does that make to your output?
Okay, and then we're going to be, or you're going to be talking to, you had a conversation with Chris, the co-founder of Landbot.
Yeah, so Landbot have just gone through a 2.2 million raise, and I caught up with Chris, and I'm really looking forward to sharing it because he talks specifically about from the early stages what they thought the business model would be, then the iterations they went through, and how that currently led to their raise. So I think it's going to make sense for a lot of different people at early stage.
Cool. I'm looking forward to that. And then you spoke with Ashley as
Yeah,
well?
I spoke with Ashley, and you're going to hear the word customer over and over and over and over again in that interview. So we talked about customer development and how it's not just for the beginning of our journey as founders or as businesses, how it's continuous. And Ashley's a really interesting story because she bootstrapped her business with Jack. And I think that's led to her being very, very customer focused. So she's taking that learning, she's trying to share that with others. And then I had a great chat with Nicole, and those of you who were on yesterday will have heard me speak about it. We're going to show it today, and it was just really open and honest about the challenges, how you actually blend the reality of running a business and having a family and living your life.
And then I sat down with Eamon Carey, who is managing director at Techstars in London, one of the biggest accelerators and kind of best known accelerators in the world. So we talk a bit about accelerators, how to choose the right one for you. So if you found the conversation with Callum Forsyth interesting yesterday, you'll definitely want to tune into listening to Eamon. He also talks a little bit about his experience coming from the founder's perspective, going into the world kind of accelerators. And they're one of the oldest ones, but even though they're one of the oldest ones, they were started way back in 2007, and so it's still not
ancient history.
It's still not that old, which is cool. So at about 12:15, we'll check in with Ben as well again, and just see how we're all getting on. And then hopefully at around 1:30, we're going to be joined by Jackie Waring from Investing Women. So she might pop by and sit in with us live. And then after that, it's another investor. So I spoke with Alistair Forbes of Mercia Technologies. So we talk about interacting with different types of investors. At what stage should you be engaging with an investor, and how do you have those conversations where you think you're valued at a certain valuation and they think you're valued at another valuation? How does that usually go? And he just takes me through the exact process that they go through when they're considering an investment. So if you are new to this in terms of considering investment for your business, you might want to listen in on that, because it'll just give you a pretty plain and engaging look into how a venture fund considers and ultimately makes a decision whether or not they choose to go.
And after a couple of investor discussions, we then catch up with Colin Hewitt, who's co-founder of Float. And actually, Colin may pop by this morning, so he might literally just tap on the door.
Oh, that's cool.
Come and say hi. So if we get that chance, we'll have a chat with him then. But this afternoon, mostly we talked about that self-discovery journey of where do you tap out and recognize that maybe your leadership skills as a founder aren't where they need to be, and what support can you get to develop that and move beyond your comfort zone. So I think it's a really telling discussion, and really appreciate Colin being able to share that and to share what he's learned from his journey with us.
I think there's also seems to be a theme for today's speakers on a little bit
seems to be
on the whole kind of freelancer early stage business support and helping to kind of manage that. So you have like Colin from Float, who makes a great tool for forecasting, and you can use it really early on. A lot of people.
So if you're no accountancy background, no worries. That's
exactly.
What it's for.
So and then obviously with Jack is insurance for freelancers. And then after your chat with Colin, I sat down with Rachel Wynn, who's also known as the Feminist Founder, and the founder of Starlight Social, and we talk about how she had to become an entrepreneur, or felt like she had to become an entrepreneur, but was really thrown into it after she was laid off from a job. And so we get into that story and how she went about setting it up, some common challenges that she faced, just getting into that whole world of being an entrepreneur, how to have money conversations, and and things like that. And we talk about just the challenges, especially for entrepreneurs who identify as women or or who come from underrepresented groups. How do you, or what are the common challenges, and where are the resources that you can go to help maybe try and solve those problems? Really kind of wide-ranging conversation. I really enjoyed it. So after that,
we're going to dive into one of our tools. So something that we've had a lot of requests for in the Slack community are what tools are you using, why are you using them? This schedule that we've got at the moment is on Coda, and we'll be talking about them later in the week. But today we're going to start with Landbot. So yesterday we showed Missinglettr, and just a chance to play around with the new tool and geek out a little bit and get your guys' feedback on it.
And then at 4:15, Adib Bamier is a serial COO, and I have a really long conversation with him that is a must for anybody who's considering starting a business with a co-founder, looking for investment, and wanting to prepare yourself mentally to be a high growth or a larger size startup. So if what you're working on you think might have legs, and you really kind of want to be challenged and you want to know what kind of questions you should be asking yourself, you should really tune into that. Adib has this cool system which we talked through and which we'll share about going through all of the areas of a startup that you need to kind of be able to tick off eventually, not necessarily you yourself, but you need to have someone as part of your team that is able to tick off those kind of areas. So operations, or whether it's operations, whether it's like vision, whether it's fundraising, finance, those kind of things. And he's made it into this really nice, easy to understand wheel. So definitely check that out. We also talk about the ranges that people go through, and he has, again, another really interesting scale for this. You may think that you want to start a business, but you don't see yourself as being like a CEO of a 100,000 person company one day. That's okay, right? Most of us aren't. We usually fall in certain ranges, and it's important for you to understand where you start and where you kind of end. And so we deep dive into that as well. So definitely worth looking at.
Definitely, I kind of get your notebook out. You'll want to take tons of notes.
Definitely.
There are loads of actionable points there. And I think what's great is when you chatted with Adib, it kind of bounces off what we started to get into with Colin of how are you doing that skills analysis. What don't you have that you need within the team around you? Yeah, and Adib's the person to listen to because he's been COO at some of the some of the hottest startups in the UK. And he's a virtual COO, and he does this for a living. He builds large companies or high growth companies. So definitely worth tuning in for that. And then I chatted with Michelle, and in terms of where to start, she has some incredible stories about why human-centered design, so why really listening to your customer and solving a problem that is a real problem, why that is the starting point. And she has fantastic stories from her work in international development about what goes wrong if we don't do that. Oh, crap. I clicked away. So we're going to then have a check-in at around 6 o'clock. And just check in with Ben and prep for the big kind of halfway point event that we're doing at 6:30. Right, so because today is Wednesday, 6:30 today live, we're going to have our product teardown. We're getting experts in from the local ecosystem, some of whom their businesses have already been represented this week, some are coming up later in the week in terms of talks. But it will be absolutely fantastic to see real live action going through and testing what Ben has created so far. Yeah. Cool. So that's the day. Ben, thank you so much for hopping on. I know you need to get away, but good luck, and we'll see you. We'll see you at around 12:15.
All right.
Catch you later. Bye.
Right. Well, we're just gonna get into it. We'll see you. Well, you'll see us the whole time, but we'll start talking again at the top of the hour. Maybe this can be an ASMR video too. Right?
That's really what this week is about.
Exactly. People are like turning off on droves right now.
Or running to the bathroom.
Running to the bathroom.
Your copy, do you just have it on the website, or did you
My copy?
batch it somewhere? Copy.
Copy.
Did I have
But
to say
it doesn't.
copy?
Yeah. Well, I still heard
Could
coffee.
you move your mic? I think it's crackling away. I don't know why.
Maybe is it touching the thing?
Where should I move it to?
Somewhere better.
Somewhere.
just not there.
Better that, yeah.
You don't want to wear it.
Well, not when we're sitting working. My goal isn't to make an ASMR recording. How's that for you, Alan?
If you are on the Slack channel, by the way, and you're working on something, tell us what you're working on. And so, yeah, if we're keeping you company,
How are you spending your morning?
you better be keeping us company too. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was just picking up something from the laptop. I can just turn it off.
Your mic?
I just turned it off.
Okay. Do you have to turn it back
Executive
on?
decision.
I just turned it off. Perfect.
Okay, cool. Oh, what am I doing? I need to remember what I'm actually doing. Ashley, Chris.
I started some sort of weird 90s throwback yesterday, so I'm putting this in fun. Continue the trend.
Oh.
Remember that? I played it.
Nickelback has like 2 songs, and then they create new songs
With the
that
same
just
chords.
copy their old songs. Aren't they now a meme, like, about being like terrible or something, or that people don't like them or something like that? I always feel bad whenever someone gets that way. Like, there's no real reason. I mean, maybe there is a reason. Maybe Nickelback is. Maybe it's because they just have 2 songs.
Comment on Nickelback.
But you know what? They're brilliant because they've gotten us to talk about them. I hate people when they do that.
Great
They're like,
marketing.
you're like, oh my gosh, I hate this, and they're like, but you're talking about it. Like, no, you know.
Make it right. So yeah, the copy.
The accelerator one.
Yeah.
Yes, I only have it there, but I can share it on a Coda with you.
Yes, please.
There's too many things. I have too many things open. Gonna do it in our.
Yeah.
Or actually, should I just do it in the main one, in the home base?
Happy to.
Okay, so we'll make a folder here.
Thanks, Alan.
What?
So for those of you on the live stream chat,
What has he done now?
he's just proven your point that all Nickelback songs are the same.
Oh, really? Thanks, Alan. Copy for. Okay, so I'll do Gelb's current starting copy.
like you should just be able to chuckle and not properly explain what's happening on Slack because
Oh, okay,
if you're
sorry.
on Slack, you'll know.
Sorry, I just feel left out. Okay, so there.
He's riffing off your Nickelback chat. So.
Oh, sweet. Okay. I'm just lazy. I should just look at myself. Right. So. Okay. Does that make sense to you in terms of how that looks?
So I am here. Yep, I'm there. Thank you.
Movies. Better version.
Not to like tear it up or anything.
Okay. Why am I looking at myself? End that meeting. The black gold. Chris, Ashley, Nicole. Oh no. Cancel, cancel, cancel. I'm no bright. So if anybody is listening in the background, while you're in your day, we need to come up with a good one-liner for what briefing room is. And so I've been working on a couple. I think if you share it on, let's see. Sorry, I almost. So it's like, what didn't work? Better investor updates, that's not good. Better way for founders to engage with those who care about their business. That's too fluffy. But what is it?
But what is it? Yeah.
Let me get into the card, and I will show you what I have as the loading thing. I thought was okay.
Maybe we can make a thread.
Maybe we can make a thread, exactly. But, you know, if you come up with something, we'll happily use it. Beautiful investor updates, personalized briefing rooms, powerful tracking and engagements and analytics for founders by founders. That's my little blurb about it right now. And first off, it's too long. And also, does it actually say what it is? Oh, wait, can you reload that? Can you reload that, the briefing room homepage? No, sorry, the website. See if it stays blue. Good, okay. So look.
Yeah.
Is that better?
No blue.
No blue, yeah. I figured out where the blue thing was.
Like, where is that cyan coming from? And so Card just does this.
Oh, let me see if I can
Stretching.
fix that. Anyway, if you're listening in, if you think about it, word association that we were thinking about was briefing room, engagement, updates, like a feeling of being briefed, of having the knowledge, of being confident in knowing things about something, about feeling affinity with a brand or a company, being part of that company because you're being kept in the loop, feeling like you know the founders and that the founders care about your opinion, and for founders that you're nurturing your community of both investors and future investors. So I don't know, words like that, I feel like. Kind of a warm,
say those
professional.
again, I'm slacking them.
Oh, okay. So nurturing your community of investors and future investors. Obviously engagement. Having good access to your founders. Feeling like you can engage with your founders, but also feeling like you can engage with your investors. The investor-founder relationship for some investors is like, just take my money and don't worry about it, just keep me in the loop. Whereas other ones are actually willing to help. So how do those founders, how do those investors articulate the fact that they really are happy to help? Trust, relationships, nurturing, information breeds trust, something like that. Image. Let me see this. Let's try this again. Logos. Okay, the logo should be fixed when you refresh next.
Thank you.
Speaking of ASMR, there was one ASMR person who was written up in something that I read. And she's from Glasgow.
Oh, yeah.
And I think her YouTube channel is called Scottish Murmurs. And I thought, that's really good.
Murmurs.
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 statement has nothing to do with
Be afraid of clicking on it.
Why would they be afraid to click on it?
Well, now they have no reason for any fear.
I always love it when, like, the BBC writes about some sort of pop culture thing, because whenever I read the BBC, I read it in the voice
The BBC.
of the voice of my mother, actually.
Which sounds like...
which is very like posh sounding, old kind of colonial accent. So whenever I read the BBC talking about, I don't know, some.
Have you heard of Snapchat?
Yeah, exactly. Teenagers think they are on social media too much, which is a good thing. Things like that. So when they talk about ASMR,
You hear it in that voice.
yes. Scottish murmurs, Glaswegian based. Actually, while we're talking, let me go. Sorry, that is not ASMR-y.
So that's...
Yes, I think
Would be cool, right?
this morning.
Yeah.
Ooh, we might have a surprise. So we're gonna have him on twice today. He's gonna get on twice today. Oh, come on. You want to tell him to just interrupt whatever it is that we're doing?
Yeah.
Except from 10 o'clock. 10 minutes. How many accelerator email addresses can I find in 10 minutes? Boom.
It'll take you for real when you say that.
What?
I often going around saying boom. Guess what just happened?
Boom.
No, wait.
Wait, no,
Let's
yeah,
not
yeah,
guess.
yeah,
Oh, we don't know what just
Wait,
happened.
I don't
What
know.
did just
No,
happen?
it's going to take a little bit of time to. So, if you were listening into Baptiste Debavere yesterday, you would have heard him say, "Don't automate things until you've, until you've tried it out and made sure it works." So
you're just following his advice.
I'm following his
Well,
advice
that's
by
fine,
not
that's fine.
automating something. But
That is exciting for those of you who are watching. You're about to see.
so I'm going to
Wait, do you have to move?
move around, and I'm going to. How do I do this?
It's gonna be magic.
I'm gonna do that.
That's really funny. We don't need a system.
We don't. Well, this is the system.
Exactly.
The system
Okay.
is fine. The system works. It works in a way. I don't know what that means, but. It's not that you have to update something in like 20 places or anything like that. All right, you ready?
What's happened? What are we so excited about?
What? That's not right. I didn't start it. Sorry, everyone. Alan's watching and thinking like, oh my God, these guys cannot be serious. This is what I do. Why can't they take this seriously? We're trying, Alan, we really are. Okay, try again.
What just happened?
Boom, you can point up.
Wait, this up?
Yeah, that's it. That's like a really delayed gratification
Wasn't that
there. Oh,
exciting?
crap. We just got a bit more revenue.
Woohoo!
Our second purchase.
Thanks for the support, guys.
We gotta add, if you want to follow along whenever and get notified whenever we do get some
Fabs
revenue.
is ahead of the curve.
I know Fabs is in, but you can go to the channel revenue in our Slack community, and anytime someone pays us, it pops up there.
You will get actually notified automatically.
Yes.
Rather than this screen.
Yeah,
Well, that was an exciting way to start the day.
that's really cool though. Well, okay, should we
Let's move to the library.